and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking all about the labor and delivery of my second baby, Vera. I'm going to be answering all of your questions that you asked me on Instagram, and I'm going to be discussing getting an epidural and how that compares to a natural birth or a birth without an epidural. I'm also going to be talking about being induced, the length of my labor, were the contractions more painful. I'm also going to be answering a lot of other questions, so definitely stay tuned. Before we get started, I do want to give y'all a bit of a backstory, and that is on the birth of my first baby. He is now 3 years old. When I went into labor with him, it was completely natural. I did not get induced, and I also did not get an epidural. I had 4th degree tearing and had to have vaginal repair surgery immediately after having him. The decisions I made for my second baby's birth definitely ripple from my first birth. You will understand why I chose the decisions I made. I definitely ask that you do your own research and choose the path that you want. My goal for my second baby's birth was just to have a peaceful birth. I had a very traumatic experience with my first. I just wanted to avoid that this time around. Before we get started, definitely consider subscribing to my channel. That would mean the world to me. A lot of y'all asked questions about getting an epidural, whether I got one, and how it was compared to not getting one. The first question is from Crystal Lynn 19, and she asked, did you have an epidural? Also, I love the name Vera. Thank you so much on your compliment on her name. We love it too. And yes, I definitely got an epidural, and like I said, the choices I made for this birth were to have a peaceful, non-traumatic birth and hopefully avoid tearing. The next question is from HE Robinson _05, and she asked, does the epidural hurt? When they give you an epidural, you have to hunch over and basically poke your spine out so they can have easier access to it. It's definitely very scary to put yourself in that position, but they do give you a numbing shot before they do the epidural, and the numbing shot hurt very badly. The actual epidural, I don't remember it hurting at all, really. I did feel the pressure of it, but I did not feel any pain from it. It was just scary to put myself in that position and know what was going on. But once it was placed, it started to immediately take effect, and it definitely did not hurt at all. The next question is from Drenny, I'm sorry, and she asked, how was the epidural in your experience? Was it really painful or not as bad as you thought? It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Honestly, it was shocking to me that you could actually experience giving birth with no pain. It was surreal. It was like I was in a dream. I could not believe that I was not feeling any of the contractions at all once it took effect. The next question is from M. Danielle Lou. I'm sure I am totally butchering y'all's names, but she asked, what was harder, contractions, pushing, or the afterbirth pains? Now, considering that I got an epidural, what was the most hardest of all of that was absolutely the afterbirth pains. And that was from me breastfeeding. When I would breastfeed her for the first couple weeks, my uterus would contract and it was just going back down in size, and the pushing was relatively easy. It did take a little bit longer this time just because I couldn't really feel anything. JS Spam asked, what was the hardest part about labor? Because I was induced, I don't know if I said that yet, but I was induced this labor. The hardest part for me was definitely, and if you watched my birth vlog, if you haven't yet, definitely go check it out. I shared everything. The hardest part definitely was when they broke my water to induce me. I was not really in active labor at that point. I was having contractions previous to going to the hospital, and when they hooked me up to the medicine to start the contractions, they were still pretty mild. I wasn't really in active labor. I was only dilated to, I don't even remember, maybe a 2. And that is when my doctor broke my water. And that to me was very scary because I fought so hard to stay pregnant. after my 2 miscarriages. The next question is from KYN Mom, and she asked, hardest part about being pregnant and labor and delivery. For me, the hardest part about this pregnancy was that I was physically not able to do as much as I would have liked to do. It was very frustrating, and also just always being worried from having 2 back-to-back miscarriages before I got pregnant with her. And the hardest part in general about labor and delivery, I would say, is just not knowing when I was going to go into labor, and also knowing that I was going to have to face some severe pain. Luckily this time though, I was induced, so I skipped the not knowing when I was going to go into labor. I honestly thought I would go into labor a lot sooner, but I just never did. And I was induced at 40 weeks. And then also the pain, I luckily got an epidural very early in my labor, so I didn't actually have to deal with much pain this time. Now I'm going to be answering your questions about the length of my labor and also the pushing. The first question is from Mirrors_Camarillo 2017, and she asked, how long were you in labor for? Amy K. Lovelock also asked, how long did you labor for before delivery? I went to the hospital around 7, and I was quickly hooked up to the medicine to cause contractions. And then they broke my water pretty quickly after that. And I gave birth at 1:24 p.m. My labor was right around 6 hours for my second baby. And with my son, my labor was 9 hours. So my labor this time, the length did shorten up a few hours. _E Bonnie Davis 94_ asked, how long was your delivery? And Amy K. Lovelock also asked, how long did you push for? I'm honestly not sure how long the pushing process was. It was definitely longer than with my son. I pushed him out within 3 pushes, and that's kind of why I tore so bad. With Vera, I was not going to try to push super fast. I kind of just wanted to ease her out as best as I could. Because I wasn't in as much pain, well, I wasn't in any pain at all with her birth, I didn't have the urge to push really. And with my son, the amount of pain I was in caused me to push as hard as I possibly could because it was relieving. I'm really not honestly sure how long it took. I would say maybe 10-15 minutes to push. I'm not really sure. It wasn't a very long time, but it also was more than 3 pushes. The next question is must-have items for labor and delivery. For me, I definitely appreciated the fact that I had brought my own underwear and pads. That was definitely something I really appreciated this time, because the underwear that they give you at the hospital are not comfortable for me, and the pads are very ginormous and fluffy and just kind of very uncomfortable. I wore those for the first day, and then after that I switched over to my own, and it was way more comfortable, and I just felt more normal a lot sooner. Also, another thing that I really appreciate that I brought was my own blanket, and I had my blanket with me the entire time I was in labor, and it was just really nice. I kind of used it as a pillow a lot, and it just was nice to have a nice, really soft blanket. Mirrors_Camarillo 2017 asked, was your birth with Vera harder than your birth with Jackson? My birth with Vera was definitely way easier. A million times easier. That's just because I got an epidural this time, and it went very smoothly. It was definitely very scary to be induced. I liked the fact that I wasn't induced with my son, and I wanted to know what it felt like to give birth. I didn't want to get an epidural with my first baby because I just wanted to know what it was like. But then once I knew what it was like, I was okay. I didn't need to know what it was like again, and I definitely don't regret getting the epidural or being induced. I don't regret either one at all. I also like the fact that I had her during the day, because with my son, he was born during the night, and I honestly kind of felt like because he was born during the night, during the night he had a hard time sleeping, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. Sometimes the hour that they were born is like the hour that they're awake the most. And that was kind of true with my son when he was a newborn, and with her, she was born during the day, and she has always been pretty good sleeping at night. The next question is from Jamie Ling 11, and she asks, when you first saw Vera, who do you think she looked most like? When I first saw little Miss Vera, she came out and they placed her on me, and she looked so mad. And I was honestly a little scared because she just looked like, what did you just do to me? Like, she looked so mad, and I was like, was she not ready to come out? Like, she just looked so angry. I'm not really sure who I thought she looked like when she was first born. I definitely hope that she looked like me, but I just think that I was just mesmerized by her, and to me she just looks like Vera. The next question is from Amy K. Lovelock, and she asked, did you tear? This was my biggest worry and fear with having my second baby, because like I said, with my son, I had the worst tearing, quote, that my doctor has ever seen. It was very bad. The healing was very bad. I had 4th degree tearing, and I believe they said that most of the tearing was inside. It was really bad. I remember when my doctor made the decision that I needed to have surgery, he said because I tore all the way up to my cervix. So this time around, I was very scared that I would tear again, and that's pretty much why I got the epidural. That was like one of the big reasons why I got one, and that's why I didn't push as hard so fast as I did with him. But I did tear this time, but it was a 2nd degree tearing, and they stitched me up within 5 minutes. I didn't have to have surgery. The healing process has been 1,000 times easier. I did not bleed near as long as I did with Jackson. The pain has not been that bad at all. Like, I literally couldn't even get up when I had the 4th degree tearing. It hurt so bad. This time around, I honestly, the same day that I had her, I was up just rocking around, just having a great time, nursing her, standing up. I was just walking around having so much fun, and it was definitely not that way before. So I had 2nd degree tearing this time, but it was 1,000,000 times easier, and that's all I wanted. That's all I asked for. I remember when I was pushing her out, I was thinking to myself, like, the whole time, okay, don't tear, don't tear, don't tear. But it felt like I was pushing for so long that I just told myself, I want her out, and it's okay if I tear. And literally, within the next push, she was born. Amy K. Lovelock also asked, who was in the room with you? My husband, my mom, and my dad, and a gang of nurses and doctors. The next question is from Mommy 131719, and she asked, if you could do labor over and over again, would I? Oh no. I mean, with her birth, it was actually very peaceful and different, but no, I definitely don't want to do labor over and over again. I don't know. I just, no. AV.ERY624 asked, how was your delivery with Vera? It was completely amazing. It was so peaceful. I couldn't have been happier, and honestly, I don't think it could have went much better, except maybe if I didn't act so much like a baby, being so scared. The next question is the Wilmon crew, and they asked, what was your first words after having your daughter? I believe my first words after having her were, can she breathe? And then I looked at her and I said, I love you. I love you so much. The next question is from Julia Elizabeth K, and she asked, is there anything you regret not doing or bringing for labor and delivery? I think the biggest thing I regret is probably just being so worried. I don't know why I was so worried, but it just was scary, and I think that I was very scared that it would be a traumatic birth again, so that's kind of why I was so nervous. I think that's my biggest regret as far as not bringing anything. No, I think that I think that I did really good with what I brought to the hospital and what I used. I pretty much used everything that I brought, and I didn't really need anything else. I don't really regret anything in that way. The next question is, how did Jackson handle spending the night away from you? Pregnant with baby number 2 here. Congratulations to you, and also Jackson did very good. He really is honestly a really good boy. I was a little scared how he would feel of us having a second baby and the adjustment period, but he did very good, and he impresses me every day with honestly how good of a boy he really is. He is so good, and I love him and little Vera so much. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He's so pretty. But that's all the questions that I received from y'all. I hope that I did not miss anybody's. And if you haven't yet, we would absolutely love for you to subscribe to our channel to continue following our journey. We also have an Instagram at morganfamily_YT. We love y'all so much and really appreciate all the support. We'll see y'all next time. Say bye.